and welcome to Kick Conflict to the Curb, the place where growth minded people come to reduce their stress and their conflict. I'm your host, Joyce Weiss, communication coach and the queen of conflict resolution. HR professionals are my ideal client because I coach their direct reports so that they improve their relationships at work and reduce their stress. How do I do this, you may ask? Well, we transform by learning strategies from not knowing how to start that tough conversation all the way to feeling confident using their voice without losing their cool, whether it's individuals or small groups. And at the end, I'm going to have all my contact information. I invite thought provoking leaders who I either know or meet on social media. And we have a dramatic introduction after our guest comes on because we both lost power a few minutes before we started. So the adrenaline's going, the lights are on, and I'd now like to introduce you to our special guest. Dr. Hernando Flowers is a human resources professional with demonstrated performance in various leadership and HR roles within the private and public sectors. He served as an active duty officer in the United States Army, and upon his honorable discharge from active duty, he transitioned into the U.S. Army Reserves, where he currently holds the rank of Major and serves as the Senior Human Resources Officer. Dr. Flowers is currently the Workforce Development Manager for Barton Malow. He promotes Barton Malow and the skilled trades as a viable and fulfilling career by engaging with recruitment within diverse and typically marginalized communities. Welcome to the show, Dr. Flowers.
Ooh, that was an outstanding intro. You made me seem like a superhero with that one.
Well, I only get superheroes. You think if you're a slacker, you don't come on this show. So welcome. Look, did we talk about our outfits before or what? We're both in blue.
Color coordination. That's what I'm talking about. And plus, I love blue, so I appreciate it.
Yes. Well, before we get into the interview, I just gotta please very quickly, because we got to get right into for this half-hour show. Would you tell our guests, or you're the guest, the people who are watching right now, what you had to go through to get here?
So for those that are in Michigan, let me start off by saying I feel your pain. For those that aren't aware, throughout Michigan, there's different blackouts here and there. So my area, a couple family members' areas. So this is probably spot number 3 or 4 that I had to go through. So right now I'm reporting to you live from outside of my childhood home in order to get this interview done for you all. So I'm definitely glad that I was able to make this happen. I'm definitely glad to receive an invite, and I'm excited to participate in this interview.
Oh, well, thank you. And then I'm not going to add, because yours was worse than mine. A half hour before the show, folks, I lost my power. So we're here live. He's outside. I'm in the office. Thank you. But here we are. So I've got to ask you, it's okay to call you Hernando, right? With all your background. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, just want to make sure. So please tell us briefly about your role as Workforce Development Manager at Barton Malow.
Yeah, so my role really concentrates on 3 main facets. One of which is going to the highest amount of top to say, hey, skilled trades is amazing. Oh, by the way, Barton Malow, we have jobs as well. Next is to find and interact with those resources to help tell that story. So that's with pre-apprenticeship programs, governmental and non-governmental agencies, or any other programs to help facilitate in that storytelling and help bring people into the skill trades. And then finally, the internal development. So when we talk about a rotation program or a craft leadership program, so anything to help build our operational capacity. So that overall holistic workforce development strategy.
I love that. I love that. And Barton Mallow is such an excellent company. I've been following you guys and gals for a long time. So now that you mentioned Barton Mallow and what you do there, how do they make employees feel like they have a sense of belonging? Because this is such a hot topic in the HR professional field. That's what my clients are telling me. Ba-bum.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it starts by making people feel like people. If you take care of your people, they'll take care of you. So we participate in a variety of events. We have our, you know, compass event. We have our various onboarding events through our Edge program. We communicate to our employees where at any point they can understand what exactly is the company doing. Our community engagement, our community outreach, where we actually participate and go out into community doing community service. So, for example, I helped out and helped to clean up a veterans area where they house, I can't remember the actual amount, but disenfranchised veterans and help clean up their area. So participating in efforts that actually mean something to the employees, treating them just like an employee number, actually treating them like human beings and keeping them up to date on what the company is actually doing. Also, on top of that, make sure our managers treat them like
Well, how do
people.
you do
So
that? I'm going to interrupt just when I want you to expand. How do you make them feel like people and not numbers? And then we're going to get into the managers, I promise. But I had to pull that out. Tell us more
yeah,
about that.
no problem. So case in point, I know personally my manager, I love him to death. We'll have our weekly check-in meetings. And before we start any conversation, he'll ask me like, hey, how are things going on at home? So case in point, last week we had our weekly check-in meeting. And before we even started our conversation about the different initiatives that I'm helping out with, he asked me about my favorite restaurant. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. You remember that?
Wow.
Like it's little nuances like that where you keep an understanding of what makes a person tick and what people actually care about and build upon that, build those actual rapport, those relationships. And from there, when you actually genuinely care about people, that's where they get that sense of belonging and the sense of care. On top of that, we hold different webinars throughout the weeks, months, and throughout the year. So we'll have a webinar on how to do proper meditation techniques, on how to care for your kids or people that you're giving caregiving to. So on top of the lean Six Sigmas things to help build the company up, but how do we build you up as a person? Because yes, we're in the game to build profits. Yes, that's true. But how do we build you up as a person as well? Because unfortunately, or better term, you're no good to us if you're not good to yourself, if that makes any sense.
Of course it does. So especially in that industry, self-care is huge because you're so busy and during the different construction cycles that you go through. But I got to ask because I have many guests that have told me, Joyce, don't ask me that question. Don't ask me how our company helps employees feel a sense of belonging because we don't. So who the people who work there, I mean, is it in the water? Is it the food you serve? I'm being very serious because starting with your manager, with your boss, how is your restaurant, your favorite restaurant? Talk to me. How do you find people like this?
Yeah, we find people that's hungry, humble, and smart. We find people that care. Yes, we find people that are good at their craft. We
Oh.
find the best, we find the brightest, we find people that's willing to get their hands dirty because that's the nature of construction.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same token, we also find people that are people smart, that have those soft skills to interact no matter the circumstance, no matter the situation, that can interact with people on that level in various surroundings. So like I said, when it came to my manager, the fact that he was able to point to something that I cared about or multiple instances that I care about, and not just the business aspect and keep the blinders on just the business, is huge. And I'm sure that carries on not just for my manager but to
Oh,
other
of course.
pillars as well, and it builds on that culture. And
And
as that culture builds, it continues to spread out, and that's how you create that sense of belonging because everybody cares for each other.
it doesn't happen everywhere. And I know you know that, Hernando. And I mean, are there other things? And if you've already covered it, trust me, I have so many questions for you. Are there other things that Barton Mallow does or that you do to keep the top talent staying there besides what you just said?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
So
good.
we do we take a pulse of what the field is thinking. So the occasional survey, because yes, HR could come up with these grandiose ideas all the time. We're notorious for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what does the field actually want? So we'll take a pulse survey of, are our benefits competitive? What would you like to see with our onboarding program? What would you like to see with our performance management processes? So we'll check every so often to make sure that we're on the mark with what people like to see in order to make sure that we retain them. Our compensation packages. It's a holistic viewpoint, not just from the VP and HR level, but also from the people that's actually receiving those services. And then after we receive the information, we act upon it as best as we can, and then continue that cycle throughout.
And when you use somebody's idea from these surveys, I'm just curious, do you let them know, by the way, we use your idea, thank you very much, or what happens there?
Well, oftentimes a lot of our surveys are anonymous, so it's kind of hard
Oh,
to
yeah,
let them know.
yeah, of
But
course.
at the same token, we let the masses know, like, because of feedback from you, this is why we're executing this.
I love that. I love that they're anonymous. It just helps a lot more because you're going to get the good news and the bad news. It's what I always say, and we all need that. We all need that. Now, is there anything else, or should we go on? Because I don't want to stop
Oh
that.
no, no, I think that covers the
Okay.
brunt of it.
Okay. So this is what I hear from many of my HR professionals. You tell me if this is in your world or not, Hernando, that they share a challenge, which is employees ask the HR professional, who do you really work for?
Ooh. Ooh.
Did I just hit a hot button or?
You gave me a flashback. In my current role, not so much because
Okay.
I'm not frontward facing, but when I was in employee relations, definitely, because we have to find that balance of what works for the company and what works for the people.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, the company is out there to make a profit, but people are there for what's in their best interest as well. But again, you have to treat people like people in order for them to, in turn, help the company make the profit. So
Yep.
it's definitely that paradigm that we have to sort of navigate. But as long as you treat them with the utmost respect, the utmost dignity, while at the same time justifying your actions as best as you can, utilizing consistency and at times, most of the time, your guiding principles, whatever you call it, your rule book, your code of the code of ethics, what have you, you
Mhm.
should be fine.
No, that's great. And I had a guest on who said to me, Joyce, we have to, I wrote it down here, so it's my eyes are going a little over here. We have to get managers to understand that we are more than call us when you're in trouble. Call us before it's too late. That's
Yeah,
what she said. I mean, do you,
absolutely.
okay, so note to anybody who's watching, a manager's HR wants to be called before it's too late.
Yeah, and that's been a common trend is they will contact us when it's way too late, when stuff already hit the fan,
Mhm.
as opposed to giving us time to be able to coach and teach and mentor them through the issue and give us time to research it.
Yes.
Call us when you think there's an issue so that way we can help you resolve it as best as we can.
That makes so much sense. That's exactly what this one other guest said. And I know I see another human being that's just fine. Hey, I'm just happy that we're here for everybody. Trust me. So um, let me ask you about an important question that I said I was going to ask you in all of our PR. In your opinion, what's the future of HR?
I, th- I think the future of HR is continuing to be a strategic partner. No longer can we sit in the background of just processing paperwork and um, you know processing payroll and things of that sort of just hiring and firing people. We're now living true to our name, and that's the human aspect.
Mhm.
You know, being a direct influence of the business and having that direct impact on the bottom line. And as long as we continue this, this trajectory, if you will,
Mhm.
will continue to be a value add. And businesses are starting to see that importance that, all right, hold on, give me a second. All right. The importance of having highly trained and highly impactful people in their organization's culture.
Yes. Yes. So I always say whenever I'm on social media, and I mean this, that HR to me, you're the glue that holds the company together. And you took the word human out of human resources professional. Human is what is the magic word, the magic word. Now, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. Let's have a fun one. What would you tell? Let's go back when Hernando was 18 years old. Let's go have a time machine. What would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Ooh, that's a deep one.
Hmm.
I would probably say keep your mind open, especially when it comes to HR. There's so many different facets of HR. You could be a generalist, you could be a specialist. There's comp, there's benefits, employee relations, labor relations, payroll, recruiting. There's a myriad of hats that you could wear under one umbrella of HR.
Hmm.
Just try to understand as much as you can, but don't be frustrated when you can't understand it all.
Yes. And I'm going to be talking to a group of men and women. They're called the Future Leaders in Construction of Michigan in a week. And one of the things I'm going to be talking about, Hernando, is humility. And sometimes we forget. We all know people who have no humility. They know everything. They're closed down. And I'm bringing it up because you said be open-minded. That's the first thing you said. So I'm like, just, taking that. Humility to me makes or breaks us as leaders or even human beings. We all have to realize that we don't have all the answers and we shouldn't. That's what keeps us open versus people who are going to tell you what to do. They know everything. This is a leader from the past, old-fashioned, boring, and they're still around. Darn it. Do you want to say anything about this or not?
That's the reason why you have a team around you. You don't know everything. Nobody knows everything.
Yes.
So the best thing you could do is build a team around you to help compensate for your weaknesses. So that's why you hire people that specializes in this facet of HR, whether it's payroll, benefits, what have you, or they're good at the gift of gab. So, for example, me personally, I'm an introvert. I'm not a big fan of talking. I'm not a fan of public speaking. So I socialize with a lot of people that have the gift of gab. I'm fine with working in the background most of the time. But as long as I team up with people that have that gift, it helps drive me further. And it helps the organizations that I'm part of drive further as well. So as long as you realize your weaknesses and find ways to build upon them or find ways to navigate those weaknesses, you'll be fine. And I wish more people would realize that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you have me floored when you said you're an introvert. See, we just can't I'm gonna coach you right now. We just can't label ourselves. I'm sure you are, but viewers, do you hear any silence whenever Hernando is asked a question? Maybe you said, oh, that's deep, or oh, that's a good one, but then boom, so you got me going here. So if we were to meet, which I do hope we do one day, face to face, for a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, your preference, what question or questions would you ask me?
I would be interested in knowing, and I'm sure if I went through all your videos and everything, probably what is your biggest takeaway or your biggest aha moment since you began this journey of interviewing all us HR professionals?
Oh, I love that question. And obviously this wasn't rehearsed because I have no idea what people are going to ask me. My biggest takeaway, I have two. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to do two. There's a reason why I selected HR as my ideal client, because they're the ones who I talk to, the ones who are attracted to the show and speaking their truth. They're kind, open, knowing that they don't have the answers, and mainly they're people. They like people. So that's one. And number two, and I don't know, no, actually, I have a different sign. Oh, that is something. Yes, kick conflict to the curb. You see that. It says, get the respect you deserve. What I've heard, the second one is people need to feel heard. They're still not feeling heard. And that to me is one of the biggest things that I do in my practice, either my videos, in coaching. Many times people come, they say, yeah, I don't feel comfortable using my voice. They would around you, Hernando, because you're open and you're a gentle giant. I can see that. You're real strong. You're very smart. But I could see that you got a heart of gold. So that I'm not talking about you, that you shut people up. So does that answer your question, sir?
No, definitely. And
okay.
Unfortunately, that's the trend that I've heard in previous roles is, yes, you know it's great that you're trying to make a difference, but what happens when Hernando is gone and I get a new
Mhm.
HR rep, for example?
Yes,
So
that's perfect. Perfect. So listen, before I sign off, I asked you for a fun fact, and you said to me, I love dancing. In fact, I was on a hip hop dance team while in undergrad at the University of Michigan. Tell us more, sir.
so I was part of a dance team called NVR Flow back in undergrad when I was there from 2005 through 2009. I think I joined the team in 2006, 2007 ish. So anything from pop lock, ticking, like boogaloo, things of that sort. For those from Detroit, jitting, you'll know what I'm referring to. But yes, I love to dance. That's probably the extrovert tendencies that I have. But I love
I love it.
dancing.
And you told me before when we were in the green room that you had a birthday, and guess what he did on his birthday, folks? Tell
Oh yeah,
us. Tell us.
oh yeah. We were dancing all night. We tore
Yeah.
the floor up. Yep, birthday was this Saturday. Me,
Oh.
family, friends, we were on the dance floor the entire night. Hustles, the whole nine.
Well, that sounds like I wish I was there. So, Hernando, I've got your LinkedIn address there. And for those people who are listening, they're not watching, could you just read out so I assume it's okay if they get a hold of you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can reach me on LinkedIn.com/Dr. Hernando Flowers.
Okay,
I'll be more than happy to connect.
great. Well, I've got one last question. And that question, are you ready?
Go for it.
Will you please come back?
Oh, absolutely.
I
More than
got
happy to.
way too many more questions, and you were a thank you. Well, I want to thank you so much. I enjoyed this. It went a little bit too quickly, though. And thank you so much. And we'll definitely be in touch, and you will be back.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh my God, you're a wonderful guest, and you marketed like crazy. You invited people. You're a dream guest, I'll tell you.
Yeah, and I'm glad that the power outage didn't necessarily stop it too bad.
No, 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 no. We've got some nice singing in the background, which added to it. Until next time. Thanks. Well, I sure hope that you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Um, Dr. Hernando Flores, you could see he's passionate about the skills trade. He's such a good employee at Barton Mallow, and mainly for my own reasons, he's a sensational guest. So I'm going to sign off, but please make sure, and I'm going to put some of my um, contact information. If you want to reach me, you want to connect to find out either about coaching, taking assessments, just connecting on LinkedIn/n/Joyce Weiss, or go to my YouTube channel. There are over 200 videos on dealing with bullies, conflict, HR professionals, inspirational stories, some great playlists. So until next time, I'm going to sign off like I always do on my videos and in my coaching. Remember, you get what you tolerate.